Welcome to Eat Right by George, the healthy cooking show that shows you healthy can be delicious. And on today's show, we're going to be preparing zucchini brownie muffins. And we're going to be using a fresh zucchini. And many of you out there grow zucchini in your gardens, and sometimes you grow so much zucchini you're not quite sure what to do with it. Well, I'm going to give you an extra alternative to zucchini bread and maybe using zucchini in your salads. You can make zucchini muffins brownie style. So what I'm going to do here first is cut off the tops of your zucchini. And this is actually a zucchini from the garden, a fresh one, which is best. I'm going to be leaving the peel on. And because this is such a big zucchini, we're going to need about 2 cups. I'm only going to need half of this. So a half of a large zucchini can yield about 2 cups of grated zucchini needed for our zucchini brownie muffins. So I'm going to cut this in half. As you can see, it's very thick. You leave the skin on, so you don't have to take that off. And I'll start grating this. I need a separate bowl. And of course, I'm using the big part of the zucchini. It smells so good, so fresh. So this is another alternative for you, for your zucchini. And zucchini actually originated in Central America and in Mexico. And then it was brought up here to the north. And zucchini is a great source of vitamin A, which is good for your eyes. Vitamin C, good for immune system. It's great for expecting moms because it's a good source of folate. Anything that's green like this is a great source of folate. And folate helps to decrease neural tube defects in infants. So this is a great food for pregnant women to be eating, zucchini. Many of the younger people don't know what zucchini is. Sometimes you'll ask them and they're not quite sure. It's not something that's super common. You can find it in the grocery store most of the time, but it's not always, people don't always know what to do with zucchini. But it's actually quite versatile and very easy to grate. As you can see, in a few minutes, I was able to grate this half of this huge zucchini to get about 2 cups, which is needed for the recipe, as you can see. Now for this one, I grated mostly the outer portion, not so much the inner where the seeds are, because it might be a little bitter. So I'm not going to grate it all the way. But I have my 2 cups here, so I'm satisfied. I'm going to clean this up and get this off. So we have 2 cups of zucchini here. Sometimes zucchini can have a lot of moisture and water. So I suggest if there's a lot of moisture in your zucchini, this one doesn't seem to have too much, I would suggest straining it to get the extra liquid out. This one seems pretty dry. Sometimes they don't have too much moisture inside, so they're okay. We'll put our grater aside. Put our zucchini here. And for this recipe, of course, we'll need the zucchini. Also, we're going to be using cocoa powder, about 4 tablespoons, which I sifted beforehand. I also have 2 cups of flour in here, 1 cup of sugar, a half teaspoon of baking soda, half teaspoon of baking powder, and I have going to be adding a teaspoon of cinnamon and a teaspoon of vanilla. So there are going to be some really great flavors in our brownie zucchini muffins. And what I did ahead of time is I combined these in the bowl and sifted them to get the lumps out. Then I'm going to add them to our mixer. So first I'll start out by adding them here. And of course, as you've seen on other Eat Right by George episodes, I hope you've all been watching, I like to separate my egg yolks and egg whites because I think it gives a lighter flavor and it gives the recipe a lighter flavor and lower calories, because I know a lot of you out there are watching your weight. You're looking at ways to cut back. So once again, cracking the egg, getting our egg white out once again. And it's okay if some of the egg yolk gets in there, it's okay. Trying to get the majority of it out. You're just squishing it from side to side. And you get better and better at it as you practice. So I'm using 2 egg whites, 2 eggs, but 4 egg whites for this one. So remember, that's the rule. For each egg, you're going to crack 2 egg whites to equal 1 egg. So I've separated the egg yolks from here. We'll get that out of our way. And I'm slowly going to start adding it to our mixer. And I'm going to have one more substitution I'm going to tell you about. The other substitution, we're going to be using applesauce instead of any kind of vegetable oil. We're going to be using applesauce as a substitute, because I like to substitute a lot in the recipes. And the type of applesauce that I'm using is no sugar added and no high fructose corn syrup. Because as you may have heard, a lot of our products, a lot of our food has high fructose corn syrup. For example, Coca-Cola's, soda pop, that has a lot of high fructose corn syrup, and it's not very good for our body to be getting too much of that into our system, because it makes our blood sugar go up. So I'm substituting some applesauce, which is all natural, no high fructose corn syrup, no sugars added. And really the good rule of thumb is if you have a recipe that calls for a cup of butter, you can use a cup of the applesauce. So I'm going to take and add this one. So whenever you can substitute, it's a good idea whenever you can substitute good ingredients. Now if you don't have applesauce on hand, you can also take some apples and mash them up, or a banana. You can take a banana and mash that up and use that as a substitute if you want to use less oil in your recipes. And always have a rubber scraper when you're mixing, because the rubber scraper gets all the excess cake mix that may have been stuck to the bottom of the bowl. And while this is mixing, I'm going to add, as we said before, about a teaspoon of our vanilla. We'll switch that around. Sometimes you don't have vanilla available in your kitchen. You can also use like different kinds of liqueurs, like a little teaspoon of cognac or whiskey. Those also can serve as aromatics. Get this going now. And one of my favorite spices to add to my cakes and brownies and muffins is cinnamon, which is excellent for diabetics. If you're diabetic, you should try to use cinnamon in your recipes. It helps to lower the blood sugar. So even drinking cinnamon tea. So I would have about a tablespoon of cinnamon. Have that. I'm combining all these now. I still have a few spots here where it's not quite mixed. You'll have your kitchen smelling so good. And remember to preheat your oven to 350 degrees ahead of time. Getting this all added in here now. Oh yes. And last but not least, once we have this well added together, we're going to add our zucchini. Yes, zucchini in chocolate brownies. Something that you may not have heard of before, but it's an excellent recipe. I have tried it. Now the the final mix shouldn't be too thick. And not too runny either. It has to be just right. What a great way to get nutrition into your diet, adding some zucchini into your products. Now, if you don't have zucchini, you can also add bananas to your mix. If you wanted to substitute. Another great recipe is carrots and zucchini muffins. That's another great one. We can do that one on one of our Eat Right by George shows. And this is pretty well combined. So next, I'm going to try to take this out, get some of our things out of the way here. Clean up. And what I want to do is take a little muffin pan. What I've done is I pre-sprayed this muffin pan. And I'm taking a ladle, and I'll let you see this mix. Just taking and adding a little bit of the mix to each of the little openings here. And you can be creative if you have a little loaf pan. If you have extra mix, you can add that to a little loaf pan. Just make sure to spray it. I'm adding some here. As you can see, it's not too runny. If it was too runny, then it would be spreading all over. And whenever you fill these, you don't want to overfill them. This one's a little overfull. You want to just bring them to the rim, not over, so to give it time and you have space for a zucchini muffin to rise and bake properly. So I will put those in the oven at 350 degrees. We'll put that into our oven. And once it's ready, what I like to do is take our muffins out of the pans. I'll show you what they look like when they come out. I'll take about 4 of them. And they do have a good volume. As you can see, they're nice and soft, not hard. And they're more like kind of crispy on the outside and soft in the middle. That's how they should be. So what I like to do, instead of putting a lot of heavy frostings on, I like to do a lot of different healthier options. I like to take a little bit of powdered sugar into a sifter, and then what I'll do is just sprinkle it over the top. So if you have one of these sifters sitting at home that you're not sure what to do with, well, here's your chance to use it. So I put that aside here, have it ready. I have some fresh strawberries. I'm going to just slice a few for decoration, and fresh mint. So just take a nice clean plate. Take some strawberries. And then what I like to do is cut the top of the calyx. Get this out of the way. And then just make little slices on a plate, thin ones, and just sort of spread them. Take a couple more. Cut the green part off. And the green part of a strawberry is actually called a calyx. So if you're ever on one of those trivia shows and they ask you what is the green stem of a strawberry, what's called a calyx. And I like to take some more of these strawberries, put them around our plate like this, kind of a nice decoration, and put one of the muffins in the middle, and take a stem of fresh mint. I like taking the top, just put that on the side. I got a couple extra ones here. This decoration. And then just put a little dash of powdered sugar on top. Put some on the strawberries as well, around the plate. And there you have it. You have zucchini muffin brownie with a garnish with strawberries and a couple sprigs of mint, and a very inexpensive little dessert. And you're not wasting your zucchini. Now you can use your zucchini in a better way and get nutrition into your diet with a little healthy dessert. And these are great to have individual. Sometimes you can add a couple more of the muffins on here. They're only about 100 calories, so they are a healthy snack and nutritious snack. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me here on Eat Right by George. Hopefully you've been watching some of the other episodes as well. We have done the carrot cake episode. We've done the banana pancakes, chocolate mousse cake, blender bliss, and we want to invite you to find us on Facebook. So look up Eat Right by George on Facebook, add us as your friend, and that way we can keep in touch with different recipes, nutritious strategies, healthy substitutions. And we'd love to see some of your recipes. Post them to the Eat Right by George page. Take pictures of some of the foods you might have been making that you've been learning about here on Eat Right by George, because we would love to see some of your recipes here. And we're going to have a contest in the future where we'd like to give a free cookbook away to the person that is the most creative with the recipes, because everyone has different interpretations. So they might take a recipe like this one, they may want to add some other type of spice, or maybe they want to add different kind of dessert or different kind of fruit. Maybe they want to add some bananas to it. It depends on you. So we'd love to see some of your interpretations of the Eat Right by George recipes. And we are on Facebook. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to hear about your substitutions, some of your ideas on how to make some of the Eat Right by George recipes. Some of the other things I like to also add are things like walnuts, because they're a healthy fat. So if you want to get more healthy fats into your diet, you can also take and add some crushed walnut meal to the recipe as well. What I did is put some walnuts in the chopper, and I always keep this around, I keep it in the refrigerator, and I chop up the walnuts